For me, this was all part of my plan. Like the day before I even came up with the name, and I was like figuring out, okay, what's the validation checklist here? How does this compare? Like, do I know how this idea can make money? And I did.
From now that you have your prototype, back in those days, you have your prototype to actually making it into a real business. So how do you transition from a prototype, from your the first time you put up, in Hacker News to an actual, business that would actually, pay your day to day?
Yeah. So for me, this was all part of my plan. Like the day before I even came up with the name, and I was like figuring out, okay, what's the validation checklist here? How does this compare? Like, do I know how this idea can make money? And I did. I figured, okay, well, the people coming to my website probably aren't going to pay me any money. Right? These are entrepreneurs who don't have companies yet. They're looking for ideas. Like, they don't have any money, like, to pay me. And I'm not selling them any sort of like complex course where I'm going to teach them things. I'm just giving them content. People don't want to pay for content online. It's not a battle I want to fight. However, they are a very valuable segment for advertisers and other companies to target. They are well-educated, intelligent, computer-savvy engineers, and ambitious potential startup founders and marketers and salespeople. A lot of people want to get in front of these audiences. So I figured that my model would be basically kind of a marketplace where I bring together entrepreneurs and I provide helpful content to them. And then I also contact companies and basically sell sponsorships or advertisements to them. So that was the plan. Easier said than done. Actually, 2 weeks after I launched, I got an inbound request, completely unsolicited, from somebody who was like, hey, I would love to advertise on Indie Hackers. So this is another person I'd put in that visionary category. I think in an early business, you're always going to have like these visionary type people who are very ambitious themselves, and they're always looking for like the most cutting edge and the newest thing that's going to let them get their business a little bit further than everyone else. And like, those are the people who emailed me earlier on for advertising. These are people who are like, I don't want to just advertise on Google and Facebook. Like, I want to find the newest upcoming platform that no one's advertising on, and try to get to my users there and maybe pay, a cheaper fee because it's not really built out. And so people were emailing me that way because they were visionaries that way. And I was happy to take their money and put their ads on Indie Hackers. But I actually spent like 2 or 3 months where I really wasn't focused on the business. I was focused more on the growth side of things, making it a valuable product. I was still like working 80 hours a week, just doing all these interviews and emailing my mailing list and building the community forum and trying to get traction there. And I really wanted the product to become like a lasting thing, because I guess I had this anxiety that at any point in time it could be over. People are going to get bored of the interviews and the next week it'll be dead. And I wanted that, like the traffic graph in Google Analytics to keep going up. And when I felt like it could keep going up, then I would feel more secure and like trying to turn into an actual business. And I would feel more secure in selling them to advertisers. So 3 months went by where I really wasn't doing any outbound requests. And eventually I had a point where I thought things were good. And I said, okay, well, now I really want to start actually finding people to advertise. Like, how do I turn this into a business? I'm really like eating through my savings. Like, I'm going to have to get a job soon if I don't make money from this thing. And I've only made like maybe $1,000 a month so far from advertisers paying me and contacting me. How do I make more? How do I make 5 or 10 times more than that? So I started just putting the word out to everybody that I knew. Hey, you could advertise on Indie Hackers. I put a page on Indie Hackers that said advertise or sponsor the site. I would include a blurb in every one of my newsletters saying, hey, you can sponsor, click here to go to the sponsorship page. I talked to my friends who had successful podcasts and successful websites, and who would talk to sponsors, and they gave me the email addresses of people that they'd emailed before to get sponsorships, which is super helpful. And so around December 2016, I decided to do a podcast, and I was in the full swing of things with advertisers, and I started sending cold emails to advertisers. And I would say, hello, my name's Courtland. I run an online community of developers and entrepreneurs who are helping each other build, successful online businesses. It's called Indie Hackers. I think it'd be a great place to get your product in front of. Let me know if you're more interested in details. And it kind of felt like those early days where I was sending the emails to people who I wanted to interview. Unlike the early days, I had a lot better response rate. Like, almost everybody that I emailed said, yeah, I'd love to talk more. And I had no experience with sales. Like, I was completely out of my league. I didn't have any proposals. I didn't have anything. I was just like a guy with a website. But they kind of walked me through the process, because I was fortunate enough to be selling something that wasn't really that novel. People have been buying ads and sponsorships for years. In fact, most of these companies had an entire marketing department with a budget and somebody at that department whose job it was to spend that budget on ads. And so they sort of had a process that they would walk me through to help me sell them ads. And so it was pretty easy. They would call me on the phone. they would want to talk about all sorts of stuff, their families and their jobs and what the Christmas vacation was like. And then they'd be like, hey, here's a couple $1,000. Let's run ads for the next, month or two. And so by the time it was like March, I think I was making $6,000 a month. I was paying my rent. I was paying for everything. And I didn't see any end to that. Like, I felt like I could have grown it to 3 or 4 more times, but that's when the Stripe acquisition happened. So I stopped.